I'm Alexandra, 36, and a single mom to my 8-year-old daughter, Lily. We've always been close with my family, and I trusted them completely with my little girl's heart. That was until last Sunday, when I discovered something on social media that shattered everything. Finding my daughter crying in the bathroom was just the beginning. What happened in the next 24 hours changed our family forever and taught me that sometimes protecting your child means standing up to the people you love most. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button and stay until the end to see how I turned this heartbreaking situation into a powerful lesson for everyone involved. Being a single mother wasn't part of my life plan. But after my divorce 3 years ago, it's been just Lily and me against the world. My ex-husband moved across the country for work, and while he sends child support, his visits have dwindled to once or twice a year. Because of that, we've leaned heavily on my family for support, something I'm now questioning completely. Lily is an amazingly creative and sensitive child. She writes little stories, draws beautiful pictures, and has an incredible imagination. But she has always struggled with confidence. She's shy around new people and gets anxious about how others perceive her. I've worked hard to build her up and help her see how special she is. But children are fragile, especially when they're going through big life changes, like their parents' divorce. Then there's my sister, Megan. She's 33, 3 years younger than me, but she has always acted like she has everything figured out better than I do. Since childhood, there's been a competition between us that never quite resolved. Where I was quiet and bookish, Megan was popular and outgoing. Where I struggled in math, she excelled. And now, as adults, our lives couldn't look more different. On the surface, Megan married her college sweetheart Thomas, who comes from money. They have a picture-perfect house in the suburbs, 2 well-behaved children, Jackson, who's 10, and Sophia, who's 7. And she doesn't work outside the home. She's on the PTA, volunteers at church, and somehow always looks like she just stepped out of a magazine. Her social media is a carefully curated display of her perfect life. I, on the other hand, work full-time as a graphic designer for a marketing firm. Our apartment is modest but comfortable, and while Lily and I are happy, we don't have the polished life Megan portrays. I've never cared much about keeping up appearances, which has always bothered my sister. She's constantly giving me unsolicited advice about everything, from my haircut to my parenting. Our parents, unfortunately, have always unconsciously reinforced this dynamic. Mom and Dad are wonderful people in many ways, but they put a lot of stock in appearances. Dad was a bank manager before retiring, and Mom was a real estate agent, both careers where image matters. They're always talking about what the neighbors will think or how something will look to others. They adore both their grandchildren, but I've noticed they praise Jackson and Sophia for different things than they praise Lily for. With my niece and nephew, it's all about achievements and behavior. With Lily, it's usually about how cute she looks. My brother Jake is the peacekeeper in the family. He's 30, married with no kids yet, and has always been the one to smooth things over when tensions rise. He lives about an hour away and isn't as enmeshed in the day-to-day family dynamics, which gives him a more objective perspective. The extended family, our aunts, uncles, and cousins, generally follow Megan's lead. She's the one who plans the family gatherings, remembers everyone's birthdays, and keeps people connected. This gives her a certain amount of social power in the family structure that I've never challenged before. Looking back, I can see the tensions building at recent family gatherings. There was the 4th of July barbecue where Megan made a comment about Lily's table manners in front of everyone. Then the Labor Day picnic, where she compared Lily's reading level to Sophia's, even though they're in the same grade because we started Lily in school a year early. Small jabs I brushed off as typical sister stuff, not wanting to rock the boat. Last month, Lily got a part in her school's autumn performance. She was going to recite a poem and had been practicing for weeks. It wasn't a huge role, but for my shy girl, it was a big deal. She was finally coming out of her shell, and I was so proud of her for putting herself out there. The weekend before the performance, I took Lily for a haircut. We usually go to a salon that specializes in children's cuts, but they were fully booked, so we tried a new place. It was a disaster. The stylist was clearly rushing, wanting to get through her appointments before closing time. Lily's hair ended up noticeably uneven, with one side about half an inch shorter than the other. She had wanted bangs, but they were cut crooked across her forehead. When we got home and Lily really looked at herself in the mirror, she burst into tears. "I can't go to school like this. Everyone will laugh at me." It took hours to calm her down, looking up hair accessories and practicing different styles to make the unevenness less noticeable. I even showed her pictures of celebrities with asymmetrical haircuts, trying to convince her it was fashionable. "You're beautiful no matter what, and in a few weeks it will grow out. What matters is how brave you're being about your performance." She seemed to accept this, and by the next day she had regained some of her excitement about the upcoming performance. We found a cute headband that helped disguise the worst of the uneven bangs, and I thought we were past the crisis. The next day was Sunday, our regular family dinner at my parents' house. As soon as we arrived, I noticed Megan looking at Lily's hair with a barely concealed smile. She kept pulling out her phone during dinner, and I caught her taking photos of Lily when she thought no one was watching. At the time, I assumed she was just documenting the family gathering, as she often does for her social media. I couldn't have imagined what she was actually planning. That Sunday dinner started like any other. Mom had made pot roast, Dad was talking about the neighbor's new car, and the kids were sitting at their own small table in the corner of the dining room. Everything seemed normal on the surface, but looking back, there were signs something was off. For one, Lily became increasingly withdrawn as the meal progressed. She usually chatters with her cousins, but that night she was picking at her food and barely speaking. I figured she was nervous about her performance the next day and made a mental note to have a reassuring talk with her on the drive home. Then I noticed Megan's kids, Jackson and Sophia, kept looking at their mom's phone and whispering. My nephew would snicker, then quickly compose his face whenever the adults looked over. My brother Jake caught my eye across the table with a questioning look, but I just shrugged. Kids being kids, I thought. About halfway through the meal, Lily asked to use the bathroom. When she hadn't returned after 15 minutes, I started to worry. "I'll go check on her," I said, pushing back from the table. The bathroom door was locked. "Lily, are you okay in there, sweetie?" All I could hear was muffled sobbing. My heart started racing immediately. "Lily, please open the door. What's wrong?" It took some coaxing, but finally the lock clicked and I slipped inside. My daughter was sitting on the edge of the bathtub, her face blotchy and tear-stained, shoulders shaking from the effort of crying quietly. "Everyone's laughing at me online," she whispered. And my world tilted on its axis. "What do you mean online? Who's laughing at you?" I asked, kneeling in front of her. "Aunt Megan made a post about me. Jackson showed me on his phone." Her voice cracked. "Everyone's saying mean things about my hair and that I have a bad attitude." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "Stay here," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I'm going to borrow Jackson's phone for a minute and we'll figure this out together." I returned to the dining room, my face carefully neutral. "Jackson, can I see your phone for a second?" I asked. My nephew looked panicked and glanced at his mother. Megan gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. "It's in my backpack," Jackson mumbled. "I'd like to see it now, please," I said, my voice leaving no room for argument. Jake, sensing the tension, stood up. "Everything okay, Alex?" "I'm not sure yet," I replied, holding out my hand as Jackson reluctantly retrieved his phone from the other room. I took it and opened Facebook, which was already logged into Megan's account. She must let her kids use her social media, which is a whole other issue. And there it was, posted just 2 hours earlier. Family poll time. What's worse, my niece Lily's crooked haircut or her nasty attitude? Vote in the comments. #FamilyFun, #SundayDinnerEntertainment. Accompanying the post were 3 unflattering photos of Lily. One zoomed in on her uneven bangs, one of her looking down at her plate with what could be interpreted as a scowl, though I knew it was her anxious face, and one taken years ago during a tantrum when she was about 4. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through the comments. There were already over 50. "Definitely the hair. Who did that to the poor kid?" Oh, the attitude for sure. Some kids just need more discipline. Both, but at least the hair can be fixed. And the worst part? Family members had chimed in. My Aunt Caroline, just like her mother at that age, always pouting. My cousin Patrick, maybe if she smiled more, no one would notice the haircut. Even my own parents had liked the post, though they hadn't commented. I felt physically ill. I looked up to see Megan watching me with a strange expression, part defiance, part something else I couldn't identify. Perhaps she was already realizing she'd crossed a line. "How could you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "She's 8 years old, Megan. She's a child." The table fell silent. My mother looked confused. "What's going on?" I handed my father the phone and watched as my parents' faces changed when they saw what their daughter had done. "It's just a bit of fun," Megan said defensively. "Everyone's so sensitive these days. Kids need to toughen up." "Toughen up?" I repeated. "My daughter is crying in the bathroom because her family, the people who were supposed to love and protect her, are publicly humiliating her for laughs. How exactly is that supposed to toughen her up?" My father cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Alexandra, I think you're overreacting a bit. It's just social media." "Just social media?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. There's nothing just about publicly mocking a child. Would you have wanted someone to do this to Megan when she was 8? "It's different," my mother interjected. "Megan was just having a little fun. You know how she likes to keep her social media entertaining." In that moment, I saw with perfect clarity how the family dynamics had always worked. Megan could do no wrong. Her cruelty was excused as humor or honesty, and I was expected to absorb it all without complaint. "Lily and I are leaving," I said, standing up. "Take down that post, Megan, now." "You can't tell me what to do with my own social media," she replied, folding her arms. Jake stood up. "Megan, take it down. This isn't right." At least one person in my family had a moral compass, but it wasn't enough. "I need to take my daughter home," I said, already moving toward the bathroom. "And I need to figure out how to explain to her why the people who should love her the most think it's okay to humiliate her for laughs." As Lily and I left, my family sat in an uncomfortable silence. No one followed us out. No one apologized. And that told me everything I needed to know about where we stood. The drive home was quiet. Lily stared out the window, tears still streaming down her face, but silently now, as if she had moved beyond loud sobbing into something more profound. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, my heart breaking with each passing moment. I wanted to say something comforting, something that would make this all better, but the words wouldn't come. What could I possibly say that would undo what had been done? When we were about halfway home, Lily finally spoke. "Why does Aunt Megan hate me?" Her voice was small, confused, like she was trying to solve a painful puzzle. "Your Aunt Megan doesn't hate you, sweetheart. She made a very bad choice, a cruel choice, and it says everything about her and nothing about you." "But why would she do that if she doesn't hate me?" Jackson showed me all the comments. People said I was ugly and bratty. Her voice cracked on the last word. I pulled the car over. This wasn't a conversation for driving. I turned around to face my daughter, reaching back to take her hand. "Listen to me, Lily. You are not ugly. You are beautiful inside and out. And you are not bratty. You're a wonderful, kind, sensitive girl who feels things deeply. That's a strength, not a weakness." I squeezed her hand. What happened today was wrong. Adults are supposed to protect children, not hurt them. What your aunt did was bullying, plain and simple. "But she's a grown-up," Lily said, confusion clouding her features. "Grown-ups aren't supposed to be bullies." Unfortunately, some adults never learn the lessons they should in childhood. They carry their mean behavior into adulthood. But that doesn't make it right, and it doesn't mean you deserve it. I tried to explain complex family dynamics in terms an 8-year-old could understand. I tried to validate her feelings while also offering perspective. But in the end, I could see the damage had been done. Something fundamental had shifted in how Lily viewed her family, her safety in the world, and perhaps even herself. When we got home, Lily asked if she could sleep in my bed. It had been months since she'd made such a request, but tonight I welcomed it. We curled up together, and I held her until she fell into an exhausted sleep, her face still puffy from crying. I, however, didn't sleep at all. I kept thinking about that Facebook post, still up for all to see. I kept hearing Megan's dismissive voice, "Kids need to toughen up." I kept seeing my parents' faces, concerned but not outraged on behalf of their granddaughter. The family I thought would always have our backs had instead stabbed us in ours. Morning came too soon. I made Lily's favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes, hoping to coax a smile from her, but she just pushed the food around her plate. "I don't want to go to school," she said finally. "Because of your performance today?" I asked gently. She nodded. "Everyone's gonna laugh at me. What if someone from school saw Aunt Megan's post? What if the kids find out?" I hadn't even considered that possibility. Megan had a lot of Facebook friends. It wasn't beyond the realm of possibility that a parent from Lily's school had seen the poll. "Would you like me to talk to your teacher? We could postpone your performance until you're feeling better?" Lily's eyes welled up again. "I practiced so hard, but I can't do it. Not with my hair like this, not when everyone might know." I called the school and explained that Lily wasn't feeling well. I didn't go into details. Those conversations with the teacher would come later. For now, my priority was to give Lily the space she needed to process what had happened. But barely 2 hours later, the school counselor called. Lily had broken down in class and finally told her teacher about the Facebook post. The counselor felt it was best if I came to pick her up. When I arrived, Lily was sitting in the counselor's office, looking so small in an oversized chair. Miss Bennett, the counselor, gave me a sympathetic look. She shared what happened. She said softly, "We take bullying very seriously at this school, even when it comes from family members. I've reassured her this isn't her fault." I thanked her, grateful that at least one adult besides me was validating Lily's pain. On the drive home, Lily seemed both relieved and embarrassed. "I'm sorry I couldn't be brave at school," she whispered. "You have nothing to be sorry for. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit we're hurting. I'm proud of you for talking to Miss Bennett." That afternoon, we had a long, heart-wrenching conversation about bullying, family betrayal, and trust. Lily asked questions no child should ever have to ask. If family can hurt you like this, who can I trust? Do Grandma and Grandpa love me less than Jackson and Sophia? Will my friends at school think I'm ugly now? Each question broke my heart and showed me how deeply this incident had cut into her fragile self-esteem. The divorce had already left scars, and now this public humiliation threatened to deepen them. "I'm scared to go back to school," Lily admitted. "What if someone's parents saw the post and told their kids? What if everyone knows?" It was a valid fear, and I couldn't honestly promise it wouldn't happen. Instead, I told her, "If anyone says something unkind, tell your teacher immediately. And remember, most people would be horrified by what your aunt did. They'd stand with you, not her." I decided to keep Lily home the next day. She needed time to heal, and I needed time to decide how to respond. That night, after she finally fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad, my laptop, and a determination I'd never felt before. This wasn't just about a bad haircut or cruel comments. It was about a toxic family dynamic that had been tolerated for too long. It was about power imbalances and the unspoken permissions some relatives had to be cruel while others were expected to silently endure. Most of all, it was about my daughter, who deserved better from people who claimed to love her. By morning, I had a plan. First, I documented everything. Screenshots of Megan's poll, every comment, every timestamp. I saved them all in a folder labeled Lily Protection. If anyone later accused me of exaggerating, I'd have proof. Next, I called my friend Rachel, a family therapist. I explained everything. While she couldn't give specific advice without meeting Lily, she offered general guidance. "This is a serious breach of trust," she said. "What worries me most is how normalized it seems in your family. The fact that your parents didn't immediately recognize it as harmful suggests deep roots. You have two options: cut them off completely, which might be necessary, or confront it directly. Many family bullies genuinely don't see their behavior as bullying. They frame it as joking, tradition, or just how we are. Breaking that cycle means naming it clearly." After our call, I sat down and wrote a careful educational social media post of my own. I didn't name names or share the original poll, but I did post anonymized screenshots with a message about family bullying and its impact on children. Today, I witnessed something that broke my heart. An adult in my child's life created a social media poll mocking her appearance and personality. Other adults joined in, thinking it was funny to critique an 8-year-old girl who already struggles with insecurity. I've spent the last 24 hours holding my daughter as she cried, asking questions no child should ever have to ask. Why does my family hate me? Am I really that ugly? Family bullying is real, and it's devastating because family is supposed to be the safest place of all. It's okay to call out cruel behavior, even when it comes from those you love. And it's more than okay to prioritize your child's emotional safety over family harmony. I ended my post with resources about family bullying and its psychological impact. No ranting, no shaming, just facts and feelings. My goal was to make it educational, not vindictive. After posting, I began sending private messages to every family member who had commented on Megan's poll. I kept my tone calm, but firm. To my Aunt Caroline, I wrote, "I saw your comment comparing Lily to pouty Alexandra. I want you to know how deeply hurtful that was to her. She respects you and loves your stories about when I was little. Please consider how your words affect a sensitive 8-year-old girl, and kindly remove your comment." To my cousin Patrick, I wrote, "Your comment suggesting Lily smile more to make up for her haircut was seen by her and caused her great distress. She's only 8 and already felt insecure about her haircut. I'm disappointed that you chose to add to that insecurity instead of being the kind cousin I know you can be. Please remove your comment and consider apologizing directly to Lily." I sent similar messages to everyone who had commented or even just liked the post. Most were family, but some were Megan's friends, people I didn't even know. To them, I simply said, "You don't know me or my daughter, but you chose to mock an 8-year-old child online. I hope you'll reflect on that and remove your comment." Then I called my parents. It wasn't going to be an easy conversation, but it was necessary. My mother answered, "Alexandra, we were just about to call you. I need you both to hear me out." I cut in, skipping the pleasantries. "What happened yesterday wasn't a joke. It was bullying, plain and simple. And by liking that post, you endorsed the public humiliation of your granddaughter." My father slipped into his reasonable voice, the same one that always made me feel like I was overreacting. "Your sister didn't mean any harm. You know how she is with social media." That's exactly the problem. Everyone excuses her behavior because that's just Megan. Instead of expecting her to do better, you expect the rest of us to tolerate cruelty. Lily is devastated. She had to leave school early because she was so upset. She's afraid to go to her performance tomorrow because she thinks everyone will be laughing at her. There was a long pause. Then my mother's voice softened. "We didn't realize it was that serious." That's because you didn't ask. You didn't stop to think about how this would affect an 8-year-old child. You were more concerned with keeping the peace than protecting Lily. Another pause. Finally, my father asked, "What can we do?" You can start by acknowledging that what happened was wrong, not just a mistake or a misjudgment, but wrong. You can apologize to Lily directly, not through me. And you can make it clear to Megan that this kind of behavior isn't acceptable in our family. "We'll talk to her," my mother promised. "Thank you," I said, "but you should also know that Lily and I will be taking a break from family gatherings until I feel confident this won't happen again. Her emotional well-being has to come first." After that call, I sent one final message to Megan. It was the hardest to write, but the most important. "Megan, I'm not going to ask why you did what you did. I'm not going to try to make you understand how much you hurt Lily, because on some level, I think you already know. What I am going to do is set a clear boundary. Until you take down that post, apologize sincerely to Lily, and show that you understand why this was harmful, we won't attend any family events where you're present. This isn't about revenge. It's about my responsibility as a mother to protect my child, even when the person I'm protecting her from is family." With the messages sent, I temporarily blocked my family on social media and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I needed space to focus on Lily without being bombarded by defensive replies. Next, I called her school. I explained everything to her teacher and the principal, including the possibility that other parents might have seen the post. They were incredibly supportive, assuring me they'd watch for signs of teasing and handle it swiftly if needed. I also scheduled an appointment with a new hairstylist who specialized in children's cuts and came highly recommended for working with sensitive kids. They were able to see us the next afternoon, and the receptionist promised they'd do everything possible to fix Lily's uneven haircut. While Lily napped, emotionally drained from everything, I started researching child psychologists. I wanted to be proactive. This wasn't just about one cruel incident, but about helping her heal from the divorce, the insecurity, and now this betrayal. When she woke up, we began what I called our confidence project. With markers, stickers, and glitter, we made a poster filled with affirmations. I am kind. I am creative. I am brave. I am loved. Lily decorated each one, and we hung it on her bedroom wall where she'd see it first thing every morning. We also role-played what to say if someone at school mentioned the post or her haircut. Simple, confident responses like, "That was a mean thing my aunt did, and it hurt my feelings. I'd rather not talk about it." Or, "My mom and I are fixing my haircut tomorrow, but even if it looks different, that doesn't make it okay to be unkind." I wanted her to feel prepared, but also to know she didn't have to face it alone. I reminded her she could always come to me, her teacher, or the counselor if anyone said something that hurt her. That night, I reached out to a few parents I trusted from Lily's class. Without sharing too much, I let them know there had been a family issue involving social media that might affect Lily. I asked them to let me know if their kids mentioned anything. It felt like building a protective wall of adults around her. As I tucked her into bed, Lily asked quietly, "Are we never going to see Grandma and Grandpa again? Or Uncle Jake?" I assured her we will, but right now we need a little break. Sometimes when people hurt us, we need space before we can work on making things better. "What about Aunt Megan?" she whispered. I stroked her hair gently. "That might take longer. What she did was very wrong. Before we see her again, we need to know she understands that and won't do it again." "I don't want to hate her," Lily said softly, "but I don't think I want to see her for a while." That's a very mature way of looking at it. You can be angry at someone's actions without hating them. And it's okay to need space from people who hurt you, even if they're family. As she drifted off to sleep, I sat beside her, watching her peaceful face, and made a silent promise. I would never again allow anyone, family or not, to make her feel less than the wonderful person she is. The next morning, when I finally turned my phone back on, I saw 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, and countless social media notifications. The family volcano had erupted. The first wave was defensive. From Aunt Caroline, "I think you're blowing this out of proportion. It was just a silly post." From Patrick, "No one meant any harm. Lily needs to learn to take a joke." Even relatives who hadn't participated felt the need to weigh in. Family business should stay private, not be aired on social media. My parents had called 3 times, each voicemail more agitated than the last. The final one from my father simply said, "Alexandra, you're tearing this family apart over nothing. Your sister is upset. Your mother is crying. And all because you couldn't handle a little teasing. Call us back immediately." Then came the unexpected call from Thomas, Megan's husband. He wasn't usually one to get involved in family drama, preferring to stay in the background while Megan took center stage. "How dare you publicly shame my wife?" he began, not bothering with the greeting. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Her friends are messaging her. People from church are asking questions. You've made her look like a monster." "Thomas," I said calmly, "your wife posted a poll inviting people to mock an 8-year-old child's appearance and personality. She did that herself. I simply pointed out why it was harmful." "She was just having a bit of fun," he insisted. "You've always been too sensitive, and now you're turning Lily into a victim just like you." I took a deep breath. "I'm not going to argue with you, Thomas. What Megan did was bullying, plain and simple. If pointing that out makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should examine why they're more upset about being called out than about an adult humiliating a child." I hung up before he could respond. I had more important things to focus on than defending myself to people who couldn't see the fundamental wrongness of what had happened. To my surprise, the next call was from Jake. Unlike the others, his voice was quiet, thoughtful. "Hey Alex, how's Lily doing?" "Not great," I admitted. "She's scared to go back to school, worried everyone will have seen the post." "I'm sorry," he said, and I could hear the genuine regret in his voice. "I should have said something at dinner when I first saw Megan taking those photos. I knew something felt off." "It's not your fault," I told him, "but I appreciate you checking in." "The poll was wrong," Jake continued. "I told Megan that last night, and Mom and Dad too. They're all acting like you're overreacting, but I don't think you are. Lily's just a kid. She doesn't deserve to be put on display like that." His support meant more than I could express. "Thank you, Jake. That means a lot." "What can I do to help?" he asked. "I want Lily to know that not everyone in the family thinks this was okay." We talked about him maybe coming over on the weekend, giving Lily some time to process everything first. It was the first conversation with a family member that didn't leave me feeling drained or defensive. Throughout the day, more messages trickled in. Some family members were taking sides, others were trying to play peacemaker, suggesting that both Megan and I had made mistakes and should just apologize to each other, as if posting a poll mocking a child and standing up against that behavior were somehow equivalent actions. Then, around 4 in the afternoon, something unexpected happened. I received a private message from Samantha, Megan's best friend since college. "Alexandra, you don't know me well, but I wanted to reach out. I saw Megan's poll when she first posted it, and I didn't comment because it made me uncomfortable. I should have said something then instead of staying silent. As a teacher, I see the impact of this kind of public humiliation on children every day. I want you to know that I've spoken with Megan privately about why this crossed a line. I don't know if it will make a difference, but I felt I needed to try. I'm truly sorry for what Lily is going through." It was the first message from someone in Megan's circle that acknowledged the real harm done. I thanked Samantha for her compassion and for speaking up when it would have been easier to stay silent. About 6 hours after I'd posted my educational message about family bullying, the tide began to turn. My cousin Emily, who had initially defended Megan, sent a thoughtful apology. "I've been thinking about this all day, and I realize now how I would feel if someone did this to my son. You're right. Families should be where kids feel safest. I'm sorry I didn't see that right away." One by one, several family members sent genuine apologies. Some admitted they had gone along with the poll without thinking about how it would affect Lily. Others acknowledged a pattern of behavior in our family that had gone unchallenged for too long. Around 7 that evening, there was a knock at my door. When I looked through the peephole, I was startled to see my parents standing there. I hadn't expected them to show up in person. I opened the door but didn't invite them in immediately. "Lily is sleeping," I said quietly. "She had a rough day." My mother's eyes were red-rimmed. "We'd like to talk, if that's okay. We've been doing a lot of thinking." I led them to the kitchen, keeping my voice low. "I'm listening." "We were wrong," my father said, the words seeming to cost him considerable effort. "When you tried to tell us how serious this was, we dismissed your concerns. We've always done that, haven't we? treated Megan's behavior as acceptable and expected you to just deal with it. Yes, I said simply. You have. We've seen some of the responses to your post. People sharing stories about how family bullying affected them as children into adulthood. It made us realize this isn't just about one Facebook poll, it's about a pattern we've allowed and even encouraged. It was more self-awareness than I had ever heard from my parents. I appreciate you recognizing that, I said cautiously. But Lily is the one who was hurt the most by this. She's the one who deserves an apology. We'd like to apologize to her, my father said, when she's ready to see us. And we've spoken to Megan, made it clear that this behavior isn't something we'll support or excuse anymore. While they were at my apartment, Megan was sending increasingly desperate texts. The first few were angry. Thanks for turning everyone against me, always playing the victim. You're teaching Lily to be oversensitive. But as the evening wore on, her tone changed. Can we please talk about this? I didn't think it would upset her so much. Everyone is acting like I'm some kind of monster. And finally, I'm sorry. I really am. Please let me apologize to Lily. I didn't respond to any of these messages. I needed time to process my own feelings. And more importantly, I needed to talk to Lily before making any decisions about moving forward with Megan. After my parents left, promising to give us space but staying in touch, I checked on Lily. She was awake, sitting up in bed with her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. I heard voices. Was that Grandma and Grandpa? I sat on the edge of her bed. Yes, it was. They wanted to talk about what happened. They realized they made a mistake by not standing up for you right away, and they want to apologize. Lily considered this. Are they mad at Aunt Megan? They're disappointed in her choices, I said carefully. They've told her that what she did was wrong and hurtful. Do any of the family members think I'm crazy? She asked. They're talking about what happened, I clarified, and many of them have realized that it wasn't okay. Several people have apologized and said they should have been kinder. Do I have to forgive them? It was such an insightful question from someone so young. Forgiveness is a gift you give when you're ready. It's not something anyone can demand from you. Right now, you're still hurting, and that's completely understandable. Healing takes time, and so does rebuilding trust. What about Aunt Megan? She texted you, didn't she? Sometimes I forgot how perceptive Lily was. Yes, she did. She says she's sorry and wants to apologize to you directly, but that's entirely up to you. You don't have to talk to her until you feel ready, if ever.
Lily was quiet for a long moment. I don't hate her, she said finally, but I don't want to see her right now. It still hurts too much. That's a very mature way of looking at it, I said, stroking her hair. We can take all the time you need. As I tucked her back in, Lily asked one more question. Mom, did you know that Aunt Megan got in trouble at work because of her post? This was news to me. No, I didn't. How did you hear that? I heard Grandpa tell you in the kitchen. He said someone from her church committee saw it and now she might not get to be in charge of the children's program anymore. I hadn't caught that part of the conversation. It seemed Megan's actions were having consequences beyond just family discord. While I took no pleasure in her difficulties, I did hope it might drive home the seriousness of what she'd done in a way that family disapproval alone might not. Sometimes when we make hurtful choices, there are consequences we didn't expect, I said. That's part of growing up and learning to think about how our actions affect others. Even for grown-ups? Especially for grown-ups, I confirmed, because we should know better. As Lily drifted back to sleep, I thought about all that had unfolded in just 2 days. The hurt was still raw, the trust still broken, but small shifts were happening. People were reflecting, apologizing, reconsidering long-established patterns. It wasn't resolution, not yet, but it was movement in the right direction. 1 week after the Facebook poll incident, we held a family meeting at my apartment. It was my idea, but on my terms. I wanted Lily to be on her home turf, where she felt safe and in control. I also wanted the symbolism of my family coming to us, rather than expecting us to return to the scene of the hurt as if nothing had happened. Not Everyone was invited. I included only my parents, Jake, and Megan. No spouses, no children, just the core family members who needed to address what had happened. Thomas had protested being excluded, but I stood firm. This wasn't about him or his feelings. Before they arrived, I sat with Lily and made sure she understood what was happening. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to," I assured her. "You can go to your room anytime you feel uncomfortable. And if you decide at the last minute that you don't want to be part of this at all, that's completely okay too." She nodded solemnly. "I want to try. Miss Bennett says it's good to talk about your feelings instead of keeping them inside." Miss Bennett, the school counselor, had been a godsend this past week. She'd met with Lily every day, giving her a safe space to process her emotions and strategies for handling any comments at school. So far, there had been no indication that any of Lily's classmates knew about the poll, which was an enormous relief. The new hairstylist had worked wonders, too. She'd evened out the worst of the uneven cuts, styled her bangs in a way that looked intentional rather than haphazard, and best of all, she'd treated Lily like a VIP the entire time, rebuilding her confidence with every snip of the scissors. When my family arrived, they were subdued, uncertain. My mother brought Lily's favorite cookies, a peace offering that Lily accepted with cautious politeness. We sat in the living room, an uncomfortable silence settling over us until I spoke. "Thank you all for coming. The reason we're here is to address what happened last week and to talk about how we move forward as a family. But first, I think there are some things that need to be said directly to Lily." I looked at my parents, then Megan, my expression making it clear that this wasn't optional. My father went first, turning to face his granddaughter with an earnestness I rarely saw from him. "Lily, I owe you an apology. When I saw that post about you, I should have immediately recognized how hurtful it was and stood up for you. Instead, I dismissed it as not serious. That was wrong of me, and I'm truly sorry." My mother reached for Lily's hand. "I'm sorry too, sweetheart. Grandparents are supposed to protect their grandchildren, not allow them to be hurt. I failed you, and I want you to know that it won't happen again." Lily nodded, not quite making eye contact, but clearly listening. Then it was Megan's turn. My sister looked different somehow, smaller, less sure of herself. The polished exterior was still there, but something underneath had shifted. "Lily," she began, her voice cracking slightly. "What I did was cruel. There's no excuse for it. I took something you were already feeling bad about, your haircut, and I made it public. I invited people to laugh at you. No adult should ever do that to a child. I'm deeply sorry for hurting you." She paused, visibly struggling with what came next. "The truth is, I've been jealous. Your mom lets you be exactly who you are. Creative, sensitive, unique. She celebrates all the wonderful things that make you, you. I haven't always done that with my own children. I've been too focused on how things look from the outside, on being perfect. And when I saw you and your mom together, it made me feel inadequate somehow. But that's my problem, not yours. You deserved better from your aunt, and I hope someday you can forgive me." It was perhaps the most honest thing I had ever heard Megan say. Lily looked at her thoughtfully, then said, "Miss Bennett says that understanding why someone hurt you doesn't make the hurt go away, but it can help you make sense of it." "Miss Bennett sounds very wise," Megan said quietly. Jake, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Lily, I want to apologize too. I knew something wasn't right at that dinner, but I didn't speak up until later. I should have been braver, like you've been through all of this." After the apologies, we talked as a family about new ground rules. No more public posts about anyone, especially children, without explicit permission. No more dismissing hurtful behavior as just joking or harmless fun. a commitment to calling out in kindness when we see it, even when it's uncomfortable. And most importantly, I added, we need to respect each other's boundaries. Lily and I may need time before we're ready for regular family gatherings again. That doesn't mean we're holding grudges. It means we're taking care of ourselves while we heal. To my surprise, everyone agreed without argument. The shockwaves from this incident had reached far enough that even my conflict-averse family recognized the need for real change. The following week brought Lily's rescheduled school performance, her confidence strengthened by her new haircut, supportive messages from family members, and the knowledge that she had stood up for herself in a difficult situation. She decided she wanted to participate after all. I sat in the audience, holding my breath as she walked onto the stage. She looked so small under the lights, yet her voice rang out clear and strong as she recited her poem. When she finished, the applause was thunderous, and I wasn't the only one wiping away tears. Afterwards, several parents approached me, not to mention any social media drama, but simply to compliment Lily's performance and invite her for playdates. The school community had rallied around her without even knowing the full story, and I was profoundly grateful.
I started receiving messages from other parents who shared similar experiences and asked for advice. How did you find the courage to stand up to your family? What words did you use to explain this to your child? How do you rebuild trust after something like this happens? I wasn't an expert, but I shared what I had learned, connecting people with resources and offering validation. Almost accidentally, I became an advocate against family bullying, creating a small online community of supportive parents determined to break harmful patterns. Lily, too, was transforming in subtle but significant ways. A month after the incident, her teacher called to tell me that Lily had stood up for a classmate who was being teased about his glasses. She told the other children that making fun of how people look is never okay, even if they think it's just a joke. Miss Bennett reported, "She was so confident and clear. You should be very proud." And I was beyond proud. My daughter was taking her painful experience and using it to protect others, the most beautiful outcome I could have imagined. Rebuilding a relationship with Megan was a slower process. We began with supervised visits involving Lily, Megan, and me together at neutral locations like a park or cafe. Megan was on her best behavior, genuinely attentive to Lily's comfort level and interests. After the third visit, Lily confided, "Aunt Megan seems different now, less scary." "People can change when they realize they've been hurtful," I explained. "The important thing is that the change is real and lasting." Family therapy sessions revealed deeper issues that had been simmering for generations. My parents' emphasis on appearances and success had created a competitive dynamic between Megan and me that had never been addressed. Megan's insecurities about her own parenting had manifested as criticism of mine. The Facebook poll had only been a symptom of these underlying problems. As painful as the incident had been, I began to see that it forced necessary changes, changes that might otherwise have taken years to achieve, if ever. Sometimes it takes a crisis to break entrenched patterns and create space for healthier ones to form. 6 months after the Facebook poll that changed everything, our family looked different in ways both subtle and profound. The surface-level harmony that once masked deeper problems had been replaced with something more authentic, more respectful, and ultimately more loving. Lily has blossomed in ways that amaze me daily. The sensitive child who once shrank from attention now raises her hand in class, performs in school plays, and stands up for herself and others with quiet confidence. The haircut incident that once seemed so devastating is now something she talks about openly, even with a touch of pride in how she handled it. "Remember when I thought my whole life was ruined because of a bad haircut?" she asked me recently, giggling at the memory. "Now I know that looking different isn't the worst thing. Being mean is way worse." As for me,
I've learned lessons about motherhood and boundaries that will guide me for years to come. I used to believe that being a good daughter, sister, and family member meant keeping the peace at all costs. Now I understand that true family loyalty sometimes requires disrupting that peace to protect what matters most. The journey hasn't been easy. There were days of pain so sharp, I wondered if our family would ever recover. There were awkward conversations, tearful revelations, and moments of doubt. But through it all, I held on to one unshakable truth. My primary responsibility was to protect my child, even when that meant standing against my own family. My relationship with Jake has deepened in unexpected ways. My brother has become a true ally, not just a peacekeeper who smooths things over, but someone who stands firmly for what's right. He stepped into the role of uncle with new intentionality, making special time for Lily and building a bond with her that is uniquely theirs. Megan has done the hardest work of all. Facing the mirror of her own behavior forced her to examine patterns she had carried since childhood. In therapy, she has begun to address the perfectionism and insecurity that drove her to tear others down to build herself up. It's a long process, and there are still difficult days, but the sister I see now is more authentic, more vulnerable, and ultimately more likable than the polished, judgmental person she once presented to the world. My parents, too, have changed. They've had to reckon with their role in creating a family dynamic where appearances mattered more than kindness, where keeping up with the Joneses sometimes overshadowed meeting their grandchildren's emotional needs. They're making efforts now to connect with Lily on her terms, attending her art shows, listening to her stories, and valuing her sensitive spirit instead of trying to toughen her up. The Facebook poll that once seemed like the end of our family turned out to be a beginning instead. By breaking unhealthy patterns that had persisted for generations, we created space for something better to grow in their place. If there's one message I hope others take from our experience, it's this. Protecting your child from bullying doesn't stop at the schoolyard or the internet. Sometimes the most important boundaries you'll ever set are with the people who share your blood and your history. It's not about cutting people off. It's about loving them enough to require better from them, especially when it comes to how they treat the most vulnerable members of the family. Lily put it best with her 8-year-old wisdom. Sometimes people who love you still hurt you. But if they really love you, they'll try to do better once they know they hurt you. And if they don't try to do better, maybe their love isn't the kind that's good for you. Out of the mouths of babes, as they say. As we move forward, I carry with me the knowledge that standing firm in what I knew was right, even when it was painfully difficult, was the greatest gift I could have given my daughter. I showed her that she is worth protecting, that her feelings matter, and that no relationship, no matter how important, is worth sacrificing her sense of safety and self-worth. That lesson will serve her long after she's forgotten the details of one hurtful Facebook poll or one bad haircut. And that, ultimately, is what parenting is all about, equipping our children with the tools and confidence they'll need long after we're gone. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. Have you ever had to stand up to family members to protect your child? How do you balance family loyalty with your child's emotional well-being? Leave a comment below. Like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more stories about navigating complex family dynamics, and share this with any parent who might need to hear that it's okay to set boundaries, even with the people we love most. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the bravest thing we can do as parents is to be the person we needed when we were children.